Alright guys, so we've made it to the second video. In this episode we are going to explore primitive shapes and the relationship between combining shapes and recognizing the silhouettes. So in front of me I have some silhouettes of some iconic characters which I'm pretty sure you would be able to guess who these are if you're a child following along with a parent. Now is your moment to show off, or if you're a mom or dad, now is your moment to show off, to let your kid know that hey, you know who these characters are. But ask yourself, what is the reason you are able to tell who these characters are? What's the giveaway? And the giveaway is the shape language, the shape silhouette. And right above I have some shapes, some primitive shapes that are actually related to the characters beneath them. I'm just going to reveal the characters so that I can properly explain better. So now we know who they actually are. So in the case of Pichu, Pichu's shape language is predominantly made up of circles, spheres, and then it has a mixture of triangles on the ears to make the ears, and the legs are little circles. So I'm doing this very roughly. The tail is made up of a rectangle, right? And what I want to encourage you guys to do is that don't just watch the videos, but actually take action and draw out while I'm explaining these concepts so that it actually registers in your brain. I find that is so effective. Worked magic for me, so I believe it will work magic for you while you're doing it. Alright, now with Patrick, I'm sure you can recognize that Patrick, he's a triangle. Look at that. So the main shape of his body is a triangle, right? So when you're drawing, your goal should be observing and searching for the shapes that make up the character. And if you could break it down, break it apart, your job will be that much easier. Now in this case, his arm is like an extended, like a stretched triangle that is rounded at the edge of it. So it's basically a triangle that goes that way, but on the edge it's actually rounded, so it rounds off. So when you're sketching, you could draw very lightly, like very faint, to get that triangle shape, and then round it off, and that's when you want to press a little bit harder to confirm, okay, that is the shape that I want to make. But not only he's made up of triangles, he has a mixture of circles and squares. Like for instance, his trunk area, his main like portion of his body reminds me of like a teardrop, or like a pear shape. Yeah, and then it's divided with this arched line. Remember the lines that we practiced earlier in the video? Look for those as well. These lines help to make up the shapes, and the shapes then, when combined, help to make up the object that now has meaning. So in this case, we're just piecing apart these characters. And then you just repeat the same process on each side. Remember to always sketch lightly, and then when you are confident that that is the shape, then is when you can go over with a bit more thicker line, which is a varied line with what we learned earlier, and thicken the lines to emphasize the confidence of the stroke with your pencil or your stylus, whichever device or medium you're using. And then the pant area is essentially a square or like a rectangle that's been cut off. So in essence, it would be something like that, but you're not completing it, you're just doing half of it. Okay, and then you have the eyes. So I think you get the point where this is concerned. Of course, you're gonna have to do some editing to make it resemble, but I'm just doing this quickly so you could see how you could actually get the character to at least resemble to some degree. But during your sketching phase, that's when you would want to edit and modify. But I want to show you that identifying the shapes and how they are combined, that is what will help to aid your observation skills, and then it will make the process of sketching or drawing easier. Alright guys, before we move on to drawing Finn, I think I need to jump in here for a bit and do a little bit of problem solving. I anticipate that some of you might be having an easy time because you're probably more experienced, and others might need a little bit of guidance. So consider this a bonus video of me providing you some tips and some solutions to some common problems in drawing. First one up on the list is stop drawing scratchy lines. Yes, those chicken scratches that look like this. Instead, use fluid continuous motion to make smoother lines. This will help to breathe life into your line quality and overall drawings. Remember to use your wrist, elbow, and shoulder to carry your lines. You can start and stop, but don't scratch unless you are intentionally creating texture like fur, grass, hair, or spikes, etc. Second on my list, stop drawing tiny. When you draw tiny, it's harder to see the details for your work, and that itself makes it harder to correct or make adjustments along the way. Instead, draw bigger. Don't be afraid to take up space on your paper or canvas. This will help you to see the details of your drawing better and help you improve the overall quality of your work. Drawing tiny is good, but for jotting down ideas quickly. Third on my list is stop pressing too hard too early. Pressing hard too early makes it difficult to erase and make adjustments as well. It also makes corrections very messy, which leads to messy drawings. Instead, try to work lightly first to get a preliminary sketch. Use this sketch when you have made all necessary corrections to guide your final lines. Now it's okay to press a little harder. Vary your line hardness and thickness for even greater results. Fourth on the list, stop worrying about speed. Hurrying to complete the artwork will make the artwork look rushed. Remember, when you are practicing, it's for your benefit, so slow down to go fast. Yes, that's what I said, slow down to go fast. Focus on making better lines, accuracy, and your observation skills first. The more you practice, the more easy and automatic drawing will be. Therefore, your speed will also increase. Fifth on my list, don't force it. Remember, drawing takes time and lots of practice, so be patient with yourself. If you are frustrated about your drawings, it's okay to start over. And if starting over doesn't help, it might mean you need to take a break and fry some plantain. That usually puts me in a good mood. Keep the crappy work for comparing it to when you have better results. This way you can see where you improved or what you need to work on. So don't throw away those crappy drawings. Finally, set smaller goals. Pick something less challenging. Don't overwhelm yourself by picking something that's very difficult, especially when you're practicing. So by setting smaller goals, you are likely to achieve them. In layman terms, have fun doing simpler drawings. This was something that I struggled with, so I highly recommend that you take this advice, as it will boost and fill up your excitement, which also leads to filling up your motivation meter. Then you can increase the difficulty gradually when you are more comfortable with your drawing level. So that's it. Alright guys, with those awesome tips out of the way, we can begin to apply them in our next episode, which is 3D shapes.